Oh, I don't have audio. Do we have audio now? Okay, let's see. We've got audio input, video capture device, desktop audio, all kinds of audio. Okay, then we'll start over again. I'm Dave Casler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, here in beautiful Dayton, Ohio. And we are relying very heavily on YouTube and on Google Maps to get around. I tell you, we couldn't get a car at the Dayton Airport, so we went down to Hertz Place in town, and it turned out to be way across town. But we got it through, and it seemed to be going okay. This thing says there's no data at all. Let me hold this thing up. According to this, I've got 3 bars 5G, and I'm linked through my phone. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, I can see that something is a little weird here. We'll try it. We'll try it. Okay, so it looks like we're okay from there. I've got a red quality icon. If it doesn't work, if it locks up too much, we'll give it a try again next Thursday. Where I'll be, I don't know. We left Monday from Colorado and stayed the first night in Genoa, Colorado, which is near Lyman. And then we went to Topeka, Kansas, where we got rained on like you wouldn't believe. And then last night in Casey, Illinois, I think. And then we are here at the Dayton Holiday, which is on the northwest of Dayton, Ohio. And we've rented a car, so we'll have something to get around in. My wife will be dropping me at the convention tomorrow morning around 8:15 or so. Then she'll pick me up at 5. And that way she's got a car and we can leave the motor home here in Dayton. Okay, let me check again for audio. Okay, good video and audio. Okay, got sound now. Okay, good. Okay, audio. Yeah, okay. All right. So we start with Randy KO4HBK, who's in Shelby, North Carolina. And let's see, we talked about Chuck being there from Greenville, South Carolina. Rainy, New Hampshire. Nathan Kring is from Waynesboro, Georgia, AG4NI. John Mills is asking if I'm around tonight. I am. I'm at a place where I've got very, very bad connectivity. Let's see, this is hi from Bailey, Colorado, KF0 HWK. Back again, good to see you. I have been flying. I am in Dayton right now with the RV, which is, I guess, they like to consider themselves the birthplace of aviation because the Wright brothers bicycle shop was here, so many years ago. And they made everything that they then took down to Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, to try the flying. They were using, they did first some gliders, basically kites, and they put those in a train or whatever and hauled them down there, and then they came back up here to Dayton and so on and so forth. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is to this day here in the Dayton area. And of course, the hams have always been attracted to that too. So, Jeff Daffini says, enjoy Dayton from KB4JLD in Charlotte, North Carolina. Scott Johnston says he is in Fairborn, no RV, but will be at the hand convention. He's doing FDIM, or 4 days in May today, which is, there are a lot of side gatherings going on here. And Nathan Krang is going to do this as a bucket list item. John Mills says a little far for me to go to living on the other side of the pond. Can understand that, although there are, of course, a few people here from various manufacturers and so on. I think the guy who heads up, let's see, JAL asks, how did your solo flight go? The solo flight went fine. It was interesting because the aircraft was lighter by the weight of the flight instructor. And so I kind of floated a little bit on the landings. I have video that I took from the GoPro, and I compared that with video that he had taken. He took some video too. So I'm going to put a video together when I get back of what it looked like. I would say everything went extremely well. I was not really happy with the landings. They weren't real smooth like we had been practicing before that. But hey, I have soloed. Oh, and another thing I can pass on to you too. My aircraft is built by RANS. It's RANS, Romeo Alpha Nancy Sierra, and or November Sierra, and they are located in Hays, Kansas. And as it turns out, I-70 goes right through Hays, Kansas. So we stopped there, and I got a little tour of the factory there. I've got a couple pictures, but they didn't let me take pictures in most of the areas there, just in the area where they're doing finish work on the aircraft. Not any of the heavy manufacturing or anything like that. They are so busy that if you want to buy a finished aircraft from them, it's a 4-year backlog. If you want to get a kit aircraft from them, it's 18-month backlog. So they're very busy, but they were very nice to me and so on. Any idea how? Okay, yeah, here we go. Let's see. Oh, this isn't a touch screen. Okay, good evening all. Congratulations on soloing. Thank you. From KC0DWZ in Minnesota. Big milestone. Yes, it was. Solo's a huge step for a student pilot. Congratulations, Dave, on getting back to the ground safely. Yes. Glenn Martin is in far west Missouri. We just drove past Independence, Missouri yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Because now the fun really starts. Yeah, I've got to spend a lot of time in the air practicing the things I need to do for the getting the license. Optical Man Jeff, KE0OG, is in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where it's 77 degrees. Yeah, it's in the upper 70s here too, and extremely humid. It says, okay, I'm coming through. Says the connectivity is poor, just too bad. And as greetings from Waynesboro, Georgia. Appreciate the efforts to advance the ham lifestyle. I've been trying. Been sharing your videos with my son, who's working on his tech license, testing in June. Well, congratulations, and Nathan, say hello to him for me, and give him my best wishes for doing well. Okay, K6SDW is in warm Sacramento. Yeah, I can imagine. I imagine it's still pretty dry there. No audio, though. Let me just double check and see if it thinks it's sending audio. It thinks it's sending audio from the built-in mic. Okay, so let's see how it goes. I'm using OBS. No sound, no sound, no sound, no sound, no audio. Hello, hello, hello. So it's the built-in mic on this laptop, and it is showing that it is working in OBS, but I have no way of knowing. Well, I just got an error here. It says the bit rate's really low. Not receiving enough video, stream is healthy. Okay, I apologize if there's no audio. Yeah, a whole bunch of no audios there. I don't know what is going on here. Okay, let's see. Been sharing your videos, and he's working on his test. Great. Say hi to him for me. Good evening, Dave and Augie's area. The fire near Los Alamos is nearly out. Oh, that's good. That was a huge fire. I understand it's the biggest in New Mexico's history. And all of this no sound. Okay. Audio now. Okay. Bob Darlington put $20 in for channel funds and says, thank you for what you do. Well, Bob, thank you very much. I appreciate that very much. It's that channel funds that is paying for this trip here to there, and I'll try and get you a good report from Dayton and everything that's going on. Okay, hopefully audio. I don't think it should be. Apps using your microphone, OBS Studio, okay. Refreshed page. It's could be tell us about your first solo. Well, there wasn't that much to it. He says, okay, go solo. So he signed my logbook. He's very by the book. So he signed my logbook, took a picture of it for his own records, and then let me go. I said as I got onto the runway, instead of the ordinary, I said, let's see, Delta Blake traffic, experimental 8053 Romeo, taking runway 3 for pattern work, first solo, Delta Blake. And I got a few responses from that. Okay, now why, if I've got an excellent connection, is it logging there? Okay, gosh, it just goes back and forth. We may cut this a little short. Like I lost some weight. No, I wish I had lost some weight. It's just bad lighting here in the RV. Okay, thanks for all your videos from Dave Parks. Hi from Nashville, Tennessee. Reed, KB8AS, says, looking forward to meeting you at the ARRL booth. I will be there from 2 to 3 tomorrow, Friday, and also on Saturday at 2 to 3 at the ARRL booth. Of course, like every other convention attendee, I'm going to be wanting to look at everybody else's booth and see what's for sale and see what new things are out there tomorrow. And let's see, this is Steve Simpson, KE0OG in Delaware, Ohio. Hope to meet you tomorrow. Same here. 7 Extreme CB is 4 hours away from Dayton. Driving his RV from Jersey. Well, good. Great. I know that the KOA I'm in seems to have a lot of extra spots. You can't get a hotel room around here. We had to go way the other side of Dayton to rent a car. And we picked up a car so that we can leave the motorhome here in the park, and my wife can use the car during the day. Anyone have experience on how to get a 122 end-fed long wire working efficiently to use on 80 meters? Well, there's a 49 to 1 balun that you need that you can get. Actually, the ARRL resells them in kit form, or you can buy one from somebody. But there's a little extra piece that you have to do. If you look at the end-fed halfway from myantennas.com, about 10 feet away from the balun, there's an extra little coil where they add just a little inductance in there. And that works for them really well. And if you're going to do 75 meters instead of 80 and get it up to the top end of the band, there's an additional little coil, or it might be a capacitor, I'm not sure, but it goes up about halfway across the antenna. So that's what you may be missing, is that little piece there. Now, I'm not in a position to tell you what that coil is, because my antenna's infrared half wave was one of the things we gave away in the giveaways. This month's giveaway, by the way, there's still time to enter, is a little FIFI SDR radio, software-defined radio. Have fun to play with. Okay, Apex, North Carolina, KM4WRQ. Did you find out anything about your parachute? No. I'm going to have to do a regular video. I guess I don't have any live stream viewers in DeLand, Florida. Neil Marsh says he remembers the day he soloed in a Cherokee 140. Yeah, hello from the road to Dayton. Guy Ingram says to restart your browser if you're not getting audio. Jeff says congratulations on the solo. He's KP8 NOU in Elkins, West Virginia. And we can hear now. Okay. Congratulations on your solo. This is from Jim Adams. I'm so jealous. I was banned from continuing my training because I take an antidepressant. I am going for my sport pilot license. Now, the thing about a sport pilot is you don't need to pass a medical. If you have a driver's license and the state considers you safe to drive, then you can fly as a sport pilot. I know, at my age, I'm 70, so I would now here's the kicker. If you fail a medical, then you can't go just say, oh, I'll just get the sport pilot. So I don't know if you failed it at the time or whether they just dropped your training because they knew it. If you've never actually failed a medical, you could do the sport pilot. There's also something called Basic Med. If you've had a medical since like 2012 or something, you can fly under Basic Med. This is for private pilot. And with Basic Med, there are some restrictions on what you can do, but they're not that bad. They're not that bad. Okay, he's behind in the chat. Yes, I am. I'm quite a bit behind in the chat. Why don't roadies only ever count to 2 when they're testing a microphone? Because if you count to 3, you have to lift something heavy. I don't know. Sounds good. The audio, okay, great. And I apologize. We don't have a real good link here. Hello, Dave from Roy, KF0HND in Durango. Would normally be just the other side of the hill, but we're in Dayton right now. Okay, it looks good and it sounds fine, no problem. After your test. No, it was after solo. Studio's been pretty good for a while. What you were reading about, no audio was old. Okay. Yeah, they did. They cut the tail off my t-shirt. Now, I had an old t-shirt hanging in the hanger for this use. And so that's the one he used. The t-shirt I had on was one that an Augie had given me. He had started selling t-shirts with the signatures of famous people on them. And he sent me one of his t-shirts that had Samuel F.B. Morse signature on it. Unfortunately, it's almost completely faded away at this point. which is a shame because it's a nice shirt. But anyway, that's actually what I wore for the solo, but he cut the other shirt. And I've got that at home, and that will show up in the video that I had before. I don't have it here, do I? I'm going to just check something. Search mail. I'm starting to know if I can go to display. Um, okay, I'm going to move this over and see if we can see this. Okay, it's sideways. Apologize for that. But it says first solo in 8053 Romeo at Delta Blake. Congratulations, Dave. Hard work pays off. Instructor Mario. Okay, so you can see that much in it. This is really set up more for the other. Okay, now what do I have to do? Go back to headshot with logo. Okay, there we go. Well, you got to see the t-shirt. Okay, now we want to go back here. Okay. Don't cut it short, it's working fine. Okay. Hi, Dave. I just wanted to chime in and say thank you for your content on the video. Learn about shortwave listening for beginners. I really learned a lot from that video. Well, thank you, Jason. I appreciate that. And I hope that you find shortwave listening to be interesting. There's not as many foreign broadcasters on the air now as there used to be, although with the Cold War restarting, let's hope it stays cold, we might be seeing more shortwave because it used to be that Russians had access to foreign news sources through the internet, and that's all being cut off now. So. I mean, okay. The IT guy says he always found the infed half-wave antennas to be noisy. That's interesting. I had the My Antennas one, and I was extremely impressed with it. Of course, I live in a very low noise area. I have about S1 noise where I am. Ranger Smith says, congrats on the solo. We are Sovereign says, nice mobile broadcast studio. Yeah, it's an RV. Chris Goodman says, congratulations, Dave, on your solo. Applaud your persistence, onward and upward. Well, it's really what it came down to. I was getting so discouraged not getting it. And I says, but I can't quit because I've been telling all my viewers, persist, keep at it, keep at it, keep at it, keep at it till you get it right. And so I just did. I got another instructor and I persisted, and the hard work paid off. Dave, does it matter where the ferrite choke is placed? The coax has a built-in ferrite choke. Does the choke go closer to the antenna or closer to the radio? Put it closer to the antenna if you've just got one, and I think it will work better there. Optical Man Jeff just wanted to let you know that I lost my brother-in-law, my best friend, yesterday. He was AE0AW in Sioux Fall and is now a silent key. Jeff, very sorry to hear that. We offer our condolences to you, and you can see that from the other comments that are coming. So what I plan to do tomorrow at the convention is go see. Tomorrow is for seeing all the vendors. Now, at a lot of Hamfest, that takes about 30 minutes. At this Hamfest, it's going to take all day to see all of the vendors. On Saturday, I'm going to go look at the flea market, and Sunday, take my wife down there and show her some of the things that I thought were pretty cool. And then we'll have Sunday afternoon off. Maybe we'll do the Museum of Flight or something like that. And then we leave here Monday. We're going to go up to Kirtland, Ohio. It's about 4 hours away. It's up by the lake, and there's a Mormon history attraction there, the Kirtland Temple. We'll take a look at that. I'm going to stop by DX Engineering. I'm going to try and arrange in advance that I'll be able to do a little video while I'm there, and not just of their showroom, but a little bit behind the scenes and talking with the people and so on. So we'll see how that goes. And then we're going to work our way back to Colorado. We will be avoiding the freeway instead of taking the freeway. Freeway is the quickest way to get here, but man, I tell you, it just leaves you dead when you're done. And then we're going to be going to Nebraska to see my sister-in-law, my Loretta's sister there. Okay. Jeff Duffini said, glad that you made it over to Dayton. I'm looking forward to hearing about it. KB4JLD, Charlotte, North Carolina. Thanks for all your videos and training, which helped me achieve extra class. Well, very good, Jeff, and congratulations for your amateur extra. And I don't know if that's recent or you've been that for quite a while, but congratulations on getting to the top. I encourage you to go the next step and become a volunteer examiner. There are many different volunteer examiner organizations. The ARRL is the largest. The K5YI, K4YI, K5YI is, oh, I can see him in my mind and can't think of his name. Gordon West. Gordon West runs one, and he is very active. That's the other very active one. A number of the VE groups are starting to run on internet testing, and they do some things to make sure that every part of the room is visible and so on. People usually do it in a bathroom because that way they can show every part of the room and show that there's nothing that could be used for cheating. So that's something that you might look at if you want to with your amateur extra. Okay, Lola Mola says, hi, Dave. Ralph says, hi, Dave and everyone. K4TA and Fort Union, maybe? Fort Union, Virginia. Jim Adams says, my medical is incomplete, but no CFI will take me on until I get my medical, even in light sport. You don't need a medical to do light sport. You just don't. So if they're telling you they won't get you light sport, then they've got something wrong, something mixed up there. And you can get your FAR AIM, the FAR/AIM, that's the Federal Air Regulations and Federal Aviation Regulations, and the Airman's Information Manual. It's a big thick book like that, which you can get actually relatively cheaply considering how big it is. But there is no reason that you should need to get a medical to do light sport. You don't have to have it. You just don't. You just don't. Tell them I said so. That'll really make a difference. But you can look in the regulations, and it states specifically in there that if you have a valid driver's license, that's good enough. Okay, that's good enough. Nathan says you're in Dayton. I'm jealous. I'm going to try and take in some Dayton live streams. Can't make it myself, but will go to Huntsville. I've heard Huntsville is an absolutely outstanding ham fest, and a great one to go to. And it's a little too far. Loretta and I looked at it on a map and went, "Oh my goodness, we'd be a full week in the RV trying to get Hamcation, which is in Florida." Now, my contract with the ARRL says that they can send me to up to 2 ham radio conventions a year. So far, they haven't asked for anything. I went out to Pacificon just for my own benefit last October. We will probably do that again. We didn't take the motorhome because there's no RV park anywhere near where Pacificon is being held. But Loretta has a very close friend who lives just a couple blocks down from the hotel, and we stayed with her, and it was a great trip for Loretta and a great trip for me. And on the way home, we went through Reno and stopped at Chameleon, and also stopped next door at Hammond Hi-Fi, which is a place that buys and sells old radios and old hi-fi equipment and stuff like that. So, or just try another CFI. Yeah, there you go. Let's see, Bob C205 says, "Hey Dave, a personal thanks for your amateur extra videos. With your help, I passed the test a few weeks ago and am loving the extra available spectrum." Now, he signed 72, which is the QRP version of 73. We must be doing a lot of QRP. Yeah, QRP forever. Yeah, well, I picked up on the 72. But congratulations on your new amateur extra license. And it sounds like you've worked hard for it and it means a lot to you. That's great. Okay. So what's going on back there? Oh, my wife is watching TV in the bedroom. It's in the back there. This RV is self-propelled. We traded in the truck and trailer for this, primarily because I'm getting to the point where it's really hard for me to do the physical work necessary to hook the trailer and the truck together. Plus, that truck was driving me crazy. It's a full-size truck. It was a Chevy Silverado. It was the 2018 anniversary, 100th anniversary edition, and it had every feature imaginable on it. The problem was the thing was so big, and it's a full-size pickup. That's not, quote, so big. You want to see something so big, take a look at this motorhome. But I had trouble with that in parking lots and so on. So, okay, so we've got Rebel Amateur Radio into FIX. Says K3FBI/2 in 20 meter 14 special event police week. Well, that's interesting. Jim Adams, I will try another airport. Looking forward to doing aeronautical mobile on 2 meters and 440 simplex. I am too. Now that I can solo, I can go up and take my radio up and maybe devote a few minutes to trying to contact people on the ground. Now, where I fly out of Delta, Colorado, it's about a mile high. It's in an area that is very sparsely populated. So I think I might actually have to advertise in advance that I'm going to do it. There's hams up in Grand Junction. There's a few around Montrose and Olathe and up toward Cedar Edge and Paonia and areas like that. So yes, do try another airport or another flight school or something like that. Rebel Amateur Radio says 14.250 is the Police Week special. And since it's going on with Dayton too, there will probably be a lot of people on the air. Rebel, I'm looking at your logo there, trying to figure out if that is a chameleon logo or something a little bit different. It looks like an interesting logo. And Bill Sanford says his call is WB0RJO. Very good. And of course, you've got the whole vanity call sign program available to you if you want to change that to something else. The W, I think, is part of the systematic call signs for generals. The techs are getting Ks, KB, and so on, but they're usually much higher at this point. So, Cecil Childers, KI5AQW, checking in from South Texas, and looks like we've got fewer people than normal. We've got 97 concurrent viewers. Let's see if I can get down to viewer activity, analytics. Yeah, we peaked out at 108, and 459 people have stopped by so far. Greg Colbreth says N7OVR says Danger SSTV is addictive. There is a piece of software, I think it's MMSSTV, written by a Japanese guy. It's very simple, straightforward. The help file is a little thin, but if you're set up for digital modes and you can do PSK31, see, it's frequency shift. It says this TV is frequency shifted. So if you can do FT8 or something like that, you can also do SSTV. Okay. Let's see. Rob Horsch is saying, oh, that MMSSTV is something you can search on. Piece of software, you download it, put it on your computer, and you're fine there. Rob Horsch, in Seattle, I can hear a fellow better on the 2-meter input than through the repeater. Clean signal on input, 60 hertz hum through repeater. No one else has the problem. What is happening? What could be happening is that the repeater is not hearing him clearly. And that could be because it's coming in from an odd angle or something like that. The 60 hertz hum is unusual, that it would happen only to one person. Because now another thing you have to remember on repeaters is that they often have a tone squelch, or CCTS or CTCSS. And he may be putting in that tone, and it may be coming through the repeater, because 60 hertz, even 120 hertz, should not make it through a repeater at all. If the repeater is not using the tones for access, and a lot don't, then he could be transmitting that tone, and that's what you're hearing through the repeater. So that's the one thing to check, is find out if he is transmitting a CTCSS tone with his radio. And if your repeater does not require it, that may be the genesis of the tone. Okay, the Jim Adams is 2 meters and 440 simplex signals dissipate in the air or go hundreds of miles because of the height. Well, it depends on the height. Remember, it's line of sight. And normally, this is why I say buying an 80-watt FM radio is a waste of time, because 25 watts will get you as far as the horizon. But if you're going to go airborne, you've got to realize if you use a repeater, you're going to be keying up the repeaters all around you that use that same frequency. So if you're at 30,000 feet, you can see approximately 200 miles. But if you're only 1,000 feet or so in the air, it won't go more than maybe 30 miles, 40 miles, something like that. But it can go quite a ways, yes. Anything you personally looking forward to at Dayton? Yes, absolutely. At 2 o'clock on Friday and 2 o'clock on Saturday, I will be at the ARRL booth doing a meet and greet. And that will be on both days at 2 o'clock. So come by and say hi. This is a chance to see people, talk to Augies, talk to those who like the Ask Dave column, and so on. Chuck Schreiber says, congrats, Dave, on your solo from a retired Air Force crew chief and flight mechanic. Well, thank you, Chuck. I appreciate that. Let's see, Greg Colbreth N7OVR. I use DM780 that came with HRD. Yes, that works very well. Does that also do slow scan? I didn't realize that did slow scan. It does a bunch of things. It does Hellschreiber and things like that. Terrence 2 Echo 0 India Papa Kilo from the UK says, hi Dave, congrats on the solo, just stay safe. Yes, believe me. I would say that flying the airplane is a lot safer than when I was riding that little Yamaha dirt bike all over the mountains a few years ago. It's getting close to 10 years ago now. I went on some extremely dangerous roads with very large drop-offs on either side of the road, 1,000-foot drop-off kind of thing. The back roads, the Jeep roads and stuff up there are rocky, rough, and can be dangerous. And the reason I quit, I had broken my arm on a ride in a different place. And I lost my self-confidence from that. So I just couldn't enjoy riding anymore after that. So I quit riding. I sold the bike. And so I figure I'll probably fly for at most 5 years, maybe less. And then, I'm 70 now. At some point, we'll sell the airplane and move on. The story on the airplane is that my dad wanted to fly in the Navy during World War II. And he went through the V-12 program to get a commission. But on the last day, he flunked his colorblindness test. And so he couldn't be a pilot. So they put him in as an enlisted person, as the guy who actually steers the ship, the guy at the wheel. As such, he also had to read the colored flags on the other ships that were in the squadron or whatever they call them. And he says he never quite forgave that, because to read those flags, take my inheritance from him and buy this little airplane and learn to fly for him. Now, I used my inheritance to buy the airplane, but frankly, I'm using channel funds to pay for the flight instruction. But so I appreciate it very much. So I'm sorry if this is getting chopped up here. Was wondering, while transmitting while flying in the U.S. doesn't require a ham license. Well, here's the way it works. This is from Only. And if you are transmitting on aviation frequencies while flying, that is covered by your pilot license. Okay. Now there are aircraft, there's section 103 in the FAR that talks about some very lightweight aircraft where you don't need a license at all to fly them. And they can use radios, but don't really use aviation radios. They don't have a call sign established. My call sign in the air is my aircraft's N number. November 8053 Romeo is my call sign in the air. Now, if I'm going to operate ham radio from the air, that does require a license. Now, people who do ballooning and stuff like that often get ham licenses so they can use 6 meters for that, which is much more powerful than FRS or GMRS. FRS, you don't need a license. GMRS, you do need a license, but it's something that you can just buy. And so people use the FRS, the GMRS, or so on. Those are the unlicensed services. But if you're an aviator with a pilot's license, your pilot's license gives you the permission to use the aircraft's radio. So, Anna, I hope that answers your very good question there. And Neil Marsh reminds us that CTCSS is continuous tone controlled signal squelch. Okay, thank you. James McDonough is watching from England. It's very early in the morning over there. Just made a CTCSS tone generator using a 555 timer and fitted it into my 40-year-old FT480R. Works great. Opens up a load of repeaters here in the Canary Islands. So he is out in the Atlantic on the Canary Islands. I'm glad to hear that that volcano decided to quit. Gary Nichols says, hi Dave, new tech here, KE0OG studying. My assistant, Callum, has made sure that there is a video every day this week. We do not do videos on Sundays anymore. And we do not do them on Thursdays because Thursday is the live stream. Okay. So, boy, this connection is just for the birds. Okay. So Greg says, yes, it does SSTV. So you don't need to get the MMSSTV. MMSSTV, however, is free. And it has every conceivable type of slow scan in there. And it's very easy for you to create images that you can use for slow scan and so on. Okay, let's see. This is Gary Nichols, who says, new tech here, KE0OG, studying for the general. He loves the videos. Chris Wilson, question, Dave. How do you do RTTY? What's the format for calling for QSO and signal reports, etc.? RTTY is still popular for contesting. You won't see much casual RTTY. Radio stands for radio teletype. It is an old came about right after World War II. Surplus radio teletype machines were available from through the Bell Telephone Club, and gradually they got more generally available. For RTTY, you need a piece of software like, let's see, anything that does PSK31 will also do RTTY. There's software that's designed just for RTTY, but now it will do PSK31 also. So, and I'm trying to think of the cheap one that's free. I haven't talked about PSK31 in ages, but it will do RTTY. RTTY is found around 1407, no, I'm sorry, 14080. And the format for calling CQ is CQDE, your call sign, or just CQ, 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 your call sign, your call sign, your call sign. Okay. It is decoded for PSK reporter. Okay. So that works quite well. It is it's not used much for casual anymore. Now, people did not start using the term digital modes until PSK 31 came out. RTTY was available a long time before that and was generally called RTTY rather than digital. It was the only digital mode, and I guess it can be called a digital mode. It's kind of made to be that. But that's how you do that. So you get, oh, now you've got me curious. I'm going to go look on T. Casler. tcasler.com/reference. Okay, did that go through? Yes, there it is. Okay, let me do the display here. You can at least see part of it. I'll move this out of the way. I'll try to move this out of the way. Move it down here. See if we can see the whole thing. Yeah. Okay, reference station for general and extra, HF, power supply, coax, power distribution, antennas, grounding, lightning surge. Digital mode software free is FL-Digi. FL as Fox, Lima, Delta, India, Golf, India. Look that up, and that will give you PSK31 RTTY, etc. If you want to use the JT modes, you need WSJTX. There is a piece of software called JS8 Call that it's starting to rain here. Called JS8 Call, and that software is available for more, or I should say, less formal QSOs. RTTY is completely free format. Now, there are a lot of popular RTTY contests, and you can use your macro capability with this to just go through a whale of a lot of stations in very little time. But that's something that you could look at. Well, welcome to the 70s. I'm 73. Love the fact that you chose to continue flight training. You're only old if you think you are, or if you feel you are. Man, I got to tell you, setting up the trailer when we get to the campsite, we've got to hook up the sewer line. And that's the one where you got to kneel on the ground. That's the hardest one. I never had a yellow Maverick pull out of a church parking lot in front of me in an airplane. I did on a Yamaha 750. Okay, 70 is the new 40. No. Hey, I'm glad you like it. I'm glad it's great for you because, yeah, it's true. People live a lot longer, but I've been 40 and I've been 70, and, you know, I'm having my health troubles now and all that sort of thing like that. But so far. Okay, Terence says in the UK, CTCSS is a continuous tone-coded squelch system, and I think that might be correct. I don't remember what we had before, but yeah. Optical Man Jeff, speaking of digital modes, is there D-Star on HF? Just a minute. Oh, sweetheart, you're in there? What? You're in there? Yeah. Oh, I was thinking it was the rain coming in. Okay. My wife's in the shower. She is. It's raining here, and I was thinking that the water was coming in the vent. We had that problem in Topeka. We left one of the vents just open about an inch, and the wind blew so much water in, it just about flooded our bathroom. So that was crazy. Ham Radio Deluxe does RIDI along with PSK31 and other digital modes, but the JT stuff like FT8 JT65 does not do. I don't know why or what is so special about FT8 since the algorithms and the software is open source. Why that hasn't been combined with the other digital modes. Now, FT8 is by far the most popular mode today. And it could be that people are just, not using the other modes at all. So they've just stuck with the FT8 using a WSJTX. I know that the guy who did it, Joe Taylor, our very famous Nobel laureate, Ham, would really like to get people to try some of the other modes that are in there, but people seem to have gravitated to FT8. There is an FT4, but FT8. Is there D-Star on HF? There might be on the 10-meter band. D-Star is a digital mode, and if it takes only 3 kilohertz of bandwidth, you could presumably do it on HF. There are some people who are experimenting with digital modes on HF, digital voice on HF. There are several competing standards, and apparently everybody is selling their software. And that has really put a damper. Hams want free things. And so that is probably why that is the way it is. Let's see. Welcome to Ohio. Hope to see you this weekend from Smoberdine, from K8STU. Jeff Harris, what size braided or stranded wire should I use to ground my HF station? You want to connect like a copper strap or stranded wire. The copper strap is, now you've got two things that we're doing to connect here. You've got in your station, you've got like a little copper pipe or something that all the grounds come to, like from your rig, your power supply, your antenna tuner, and so on, are all grounded there. And then from there out to the ground rod, you want to use something that conducts very well at HF frequencies. And HF frequencies, by and large, are on the surface of whatever conductor you're using. So, like for example, if you've got a coax cable, it's on the inside surface of the outer shield and on the outside surface of the inner shield. So, given that, run a copper strap, a 3/4 inch wide or an inch wide from your station single point ground. Use a hose clamp on there. Clamp that down good. Take that out to your ground rod and use a ground rod clamp or a hose clamp or something. Grounds you want to do using compression fit rather than solder. The problem is that grounds can take extremely high pulse currents, like lightning or something like that. Extremely high pulse currents. And that could momentarily heat up a joint, hot enough to make the solder boil, and it would go flying in all directions. So that's why your ground systems are not soldered, but you notice on the back of your radio you've got a screw and a nut to hold that down real good. And now I happen to use, this is slated for update one day, a number 2 7-stranded cable, which is bigger than it really needs to be, but it works really well, so I haven't changed it. When I do change it, I'm going to change it to a copper strap. I'm also looking at the K4. What's the guy who makes the ham radio junction boxes that go in and out of the house? I'm going to put in something like that for my. That's what I hate about my programming cable for my HT. One of the problems with the programming cable, the biggest problem has to do with getting the correct COM port and getting it working. There are cheap Chinese cables out there that use a counterfeit chip by a Chinese company called Prolific. And Prolific got so tired of people counterfeiting their chips that they basically deprecated a whole series of chips. And then the drivers that they now give to Microsoft and everybody are designed specifically to not allow those counterfeit Prolific chips. It will allow the newer ones. But better yet, go to, let's see, it's PowerWorks, PowerWerx, powerworks.com. And if you go under their radios and stuff and look in the programming cables, you'll find a red cable that's designed for programming the Oshing radios and stuff. You can use that for just about any radio that has the Kenwood style connection on it. I use it for programming Baofangs for any tones, everything, I think any tone. I may be wrong on that. Okay. But you've got to then go into your system settings, into Device Manager, look up your ports and COM ports. It'll be under ports. And then find out when you plug in that cable, which COM port is assigned to that cable, because you will then need to tell your programming software what port it is talking to. Okay. Bob Harbrecht has arrived, KE7QEQ. I am in Dayton, Ohio, and going to attend the Dayton Ham Fest tomorrow. How do you ground an MGJ, or are you talking MFJ? 2100 octopus antenna using various ham sticks as my base antenna. You ground the mast. The correct part of the coax is grounded to the mast. So ground the mast. Okay. Let's see. Thanks for your previous video on the MFJ 2104, which introduced me to the antenna. I have not seen the updated MFJ octopus. The hub for them on mine got badly bent when the thing fell over. And it's not very strong. Chameleon makes a very strong one. I think the new MFJ is better. Okay, Optical Man Jeff has added $15 to the channel revenue. We're up to $40 now. Thank you. He says, thanks, Dave, for everything. You are a great friend. Well, thank you very much, Jeff. I appreciate that. Let's see, Davis, K3DHJ, Delaware, Augie checking in, 73 to all. Oh, yeah, okay, I figured it was MFJ. Chris said it was an MFJ 2100. Um, I make gobs of typos. There's a medication that they've given me called propranolol, which I can use as required. It's actually a blood pressure medicine, but it calms the tremors that makes it really difficult for me to type. That's why when I send things, I use my typewriter because I can two-finger that. I can touch type on the keyboard, but my hands have developed a little bit of a tremor kind of thing, and the propranolol really helps. But I have to remember to take it in advance. Dave, can you use the accessory plug for a temporary power hookup for a dual band mobile? I wouldn't. I wouldn't. The wire's too small. The radio requires much more power. The little accessory port is like 20 gauge or something like that, whereas you want to use more like 12 gauge for your power input. If you try using the plus power, it's limited to about an amp, and the radio itself requires closer to 15 amps. Okay, so I would shy away from doing that. Chris Goodman, K0 BLU, adds $10 to the chat revenue and says, "Have a great hamvention." Thank you, I will. And Richard Quinn, very close by, KB3ZVH, boy, is it hot in my tent. Oh, I can imagine. Absolutely, I can imagine. It is, I think it was 78 with nearly 100% humidity here. It's extraordinarily humid. Let's see, I was wondering how you decided to buy the Rans S7. Did you consider other kit build? I fly a rental Cherokee. I'm thinking of building a Vans or Zenith. I bought the thing because I was looking on, and I'm trying to remember what the website is, but it's a common one for selling uh, light aircraft, and they have a section on light sport. And I just kept looking and looking and looking and looking for months. I checked on a couple, and they'd already been sold. And so I came across this Rans S6ES, and it was in the right price range. They wanted 42,000 for it. I ended up paying 39.5, and so I investigated. It had not yet been sold. My wife and I made a trip to go down and see it in Arizona and get a demo ride in it, and we settled on that airplane. So I didn't pick Rans. I picked an airplane that I found on that website and pursued it and was able to get one. Now note that all the kit builders are months behind on delivering kits. If you're going to build a Vans or a Zenith, look around. Vans is a very popular build. Rans is running 18 months behind on their kit orders, and I think a lot of the other people are too. So take a look at those. Chris Wilson asked what digital voice modes are there. Look that up on Google. I've not researched that a lot, but there are a number of them. Okay, it says Chameleon discontinued their version of the Octopus. They still make the Quad. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. Kyle Freemason says, hope everyone is doing well tonight. I'm an avid QRPer with a dilemma. I'm torn between my 9 to 151 foot long random wire and a Wolf River coil with a 17-foot whip. Not sure which antenna is most efficient. The answer is with proper tuners, they're both as good as a dipole. Now, there's no such thing as a free lunch, right? If it's not an actual dipole, if it's a long random wire, okay, you're going to have to add a lot of reactance to it in the tuner to either make it work or not work. And you'll probably lose some bandwidth on the antenna. It may not cover the whole band. With the Wolf River coil and a 17-foot whip, it definitely won't cover the whole band. Okay, you'll have to retune if you go to the upper part of the band versus the lower part of the band. Okay, they're both nicely efficient. I mean, they're not as good as a cut to purpose dipole, but they're only a dB or two less. And you know, the Navy did some studies a long time ago and discovered that an 8 or 9 foot whip with an antenna tuner at the base of it would be work very, very well for the antennas for their ships. And they kind of went that way with HF. The drawback is the bandwidth. Every time you change frequency, you have to retune. Which is fine. You can get that done automatically if you pay a fortune for it. But the thing is that the Navy and the other military services use fixed frequencies. So they know in advance what to tune to. Okay. Ann Lee says, Barnstormers, yes. Barnstormers.com is the airplane sales site, yes. Jim Adams, N3ROC, adds $5 to the chat revenue and says, Dave, thank you for your expertise. I appreciate that. Kyle Freemason, do you know approximately how much power loss an inductance coil antenna has? Well, and inductance is reactance. Reactance does not work as a radiator. The reactance is there to tune the antenna. It's to cancel out the capacitance that's in the antenna. If a coil or if an antenna is too short, it like a whip, it behaves as though it's got a lot of capacitance. So you have to add inductance to cancel the capacitance to bring it back to resonance, okay? Now, how much power loss is there in a coil like that? There is some, obviously, but if they're a good sturdy coil, you're talking 1 dB or less on HF on the lower bands. It's not much, it's not huge. Like I said, there's no such thing as a free lunch, so if you have to add inductance, you're adding resistance. Now, there's two kinds of resistance. If you look at the antenna in terms of its lumped coefficients, there's capacitance, inductance, and I should say capacitive reactance, inductive reactance, radiation resistance, and ohmic resistance. The only one of those that does you any good is the radiation resistance. You want the radiation resistance to be closer to 50 ohms and your ohmic resistance to be extremely low and your capacitive and inductive reactance to cancel each other. But the way they do that is if you look what's going on inside the antenna, the capacitor and the inductor are swapping energy. They're swapping energy at the resonant frequency. That's what makes an antenna resonant. But the problem is that you can get some very high circulating currents. And so if you've added an awful lot of inductance to a very short antenna, you're going to get very high circulating currents. You can actually heat up the coil, heat up the capacitor. Great way to burn things out, by the way. So you have to be very careful. That's why these, what are these Kansas City, these big coils? I'm looking back up here. Somebody is using these coils. Something river coils. I don't see it right offhand. But they're big. They're big on purpose so that they conduct lots of current with little resistance. Okay, but properly done, it's about a dB, which is not even half an SE unit. Okay, hello Dave from KE0OG. What is your opinion on stacked antennas? Stack away. A better term for that might be phased antennas, because it's a broader term, phased antennas. You can do phased antennas at HF. You can put up multiple verticals, and if you phase them correctly, you can steer the beam. Okay. Now, stacked antennas are usually used at 2 meters or above, 70 centimeters, microwave frequencies, and so on. And you get more gain if you stack the antennas. You have to get the dimensions exactly right. I mean, building a stacked antenna is not a trivial thing to do. So you want to be careful about doing that, that they get somebody who's done it. Now, the thing that stacked antennas are built for, some satellite work using single sideband or CW. The FM antennas, you don't have to worry about it. FM satellites, you don't have to worry about it. But there are some much higher satellites that you would need stacked antennas for. And the other thing is meteor scatter and moon bounce. And the software that you will use is WSJTX, which has modes for moon bounce and meteor scatter. Okay, so do stacked antennas work? Yes, absolutely, they do. Do you need them for terrestrial work? No. Just an ordinary Yagi will do fine. I have a little 10-element 70 centimeter beam, and it's only about that long. And the thing actually is sent folded up, and you unfold it, and you don't need any tools to put the thing up. It's very cool. There, Wolf River, thank you. Wolf River coils. Have you seen a Soloflux index, solar flux, SOLAR flux, FLUX index, and the SN? It's crazy nice. We're getting into an era of good propagation. And so this is something that you should look at if you're on HF, is seeing if you can't work some DX. You know, it's 40 meters is open the daytime and into the evening. 20 meters is starting to be open for very long distances in the evening. And during the daytime, check the higher bands, 15, 12, and 10. And 17 meters is also a good one because it's not so busy as 20. 80 meters is good for long distance at night, but it's more low sun activity band. We're getting a lot more solar activity, but it's so far looking about like the last cycle, so not anything fancy. Okay, why do they use AM modulation on the VHF airband? They use it because of tradition. It's always been that way. But the reason they use AM rather than FM is very simple. The reason is because if two stations transmit at once on AM, yes, you will get a tone, the beat tone between them, but you can still hear both stations. And so this is very important when you're up there and you happen to step on somebody else. A good controller will be able to understand that and pick up what's going on, or at least pick up important words. On FM, the stronger station will capture the receiver, and the lesser station will not be heard at all. So that's why they use AM. And by the way, my aircraft radio is about 5 watts, 6 watts. It's an Icon, by the way. And I've got a ICOM walkie-talkie for the Airband too. Do I still use the 1708 version B? Let me check and see what that is. MFJ 1708. MFJ 1708B. You know, actually, I don't even have the B model. I have the original model. The original model has less. I measured it. I actually measured the isolation between the uh, blocked off receiver and the transmitted signal. It was only 40 dB down, which is not enough. So they came out with the version B, which is supposed to be a lot better. I think, and I don't have the B. I have the original. But get the latest one. Scott said 17 was great to Europe today. That's neat. SFI let's see. When I see SN, I think signal to noise. Solar flux index, solar number. It's growing. Yeah, we're at that point in the sunspot cycle where that is happening. So David, KORNT, KE0OG, sent $10 for the chat revenue. Says thank you for your videos in 73. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, John. Robert KI5IUA said 17 meters and gives it a thumbs up. Chris Wilson, have you got HF mobile in the RV so you can work HF while you drive? No, I do not. I brought a G90 with me and a buddy pole antenna, but I haven't set them up to try to use them. Sunspot number, well, that could be true too. As the sunspot numbers go up, that will cause the solar flux index and the A and K indices measure the geomagnetic field, and the solar flux index is the 10.7 centimeter receiver signal strength measured by a station in Canada, which correlates somewhat with the sunspot numbers. And so that's measuring the sun. So there's two things going on here. You've got what's happening on the sun and what's happening with the geomagnetic field of the Earth and the ionosphere. Okay. Let's see, David, I mentioned KORNT. KO4RNT added $10 to the chat revenue and says, thanks for your video, 73. Thank you very much. Sunspot number, yes. Hi, Dave. Just wanted to say thanks for your help. Got my extra 3 years ago, largely because of your helpful videos. Well, thank you. One of the things that I'll be very busy with in June with my assistant is we have to update all the tech videos. Now, it looks at this point as though not much will be required in the way of updating, but I want to get those up and available as soon as I can, and that will come very soon. Okay, we are about out of time, so thank you all for bearing with me here and making this thing work. Says we've got an excellent connection. We're up to, we had 141 peak. We're at 130 now. 827 people have stopped by. And we've picked up $65 in chat revenue. Very good. Christopher Andrews says, I'm an SDR user and I'm switching from an end-fed half-wave to a mag loop. What has been your experience with receive on mag loop? They receive very well over a very narrow bandwidth. If you're using a software-defined radio, you want the waterfall, your magnetic loop will not help you very much because its receive bandwidth is so tiny. It's like measured in kilohertz, like 40 up at 10 meters, 5 or so down on 80 meters. And you've got to, you won't get a waterfall out of it. That's the problem. Bobcat's Creeman says, hello, Dave. I'm thinking about purchasing a Zygo G90 for my first HF radio for QRP work. This is a good choice for the price and features. I am thinking so for starting small. My general recommendation, one, don't buy anything until you've actually passed your general. Okay. Get the license first. Okay. I should have done that with an aircraft, but there was no rentable light sport aircraft around, so I had to go get my own aircraft to learn in. My other recommendation is that you start with 100 watts because QRP actually is not a beginner mode because of the difficulty of establishing a contact. You really need to know, have a good feel for HF and how it works. That said, a lot of people do it and seem to be okay with it. Jim Adams in 3ROC says, I have to keep remembering to try 12, 15, 17. Says, just gravitate toward 20 and 40. Most people do. Will you have a live stream next week? I intend to try. Bobcat, the G90 is a great kit for the price. Is great kit. Okay, now, kit is a British term for equipment. Okay, Paul Hopman, 73, have fun at Dayton. Greg Colbreth, gotta go. Good to hear you soloed. As always, thank you, Dave. So I am going to say 73, and I'll get, there will be videos tomorrow and Saturday, but they won't have anything to do with Dayton. At the next live stream, I'll update you on Dayton, and when I get home, I'll actually make a Dayton video, trying to do as much as I can here. So thank you all so much. And with that, I will say to all of you, 73. Okay.